Good afternoon, chess fans. My name is Pavel Voloshin. Today we'll make a broadcast about the match between Moscow Chess Club and Team Jordan. First of all, let's listen the greeting words of the president of Moscow Chess Federation, Sergey Lazarev, and representatives of the Team Jordan.
Дорогие друзья, приветствую участников вести международной встречи шахматных клубов Москвы и Омана. Мы искренне рады, что этот матч проходит на официальном интернет-сайте Московской шахматной федерации и выражаем благодарность шахматному клубу Иордании за эту встречу. Шахматы имеют долгую историю и стали неотъемлемой частью мирового спортивного движения, отражением национальных и культурных традиций разных стран, в которых они развиваются. Сегодня шахматы – это не только спорт, но и образ жизни миллионов людей во всем мире. По сути, шахматы – это философия, которая позволяет стать внимательным, ответственным, вдумчивым человеком. Мы знаем, что онлайн и офлайн шахматы сильно отличаются друг от друга, но все они имеют одну общую черту – побеждает сильнейший. Искренне желаю участникам встречи удачного выступления, удачи всем и побед сильнейшим.
Разрешите представиться. Меня зовут Жанат Кукаева. Я руководитель молодежного направления российских соотечественников в Иордании и шахматного клуба «Гамбит. Кубок вызова». Иордания приветствует вас, участников и организаторов международного турнира. Надеемся, что этот турнир наладит мосты дружбы и сотрудничества между соотечественниками из разных уголков мира. Нас объединяет общая культура и история. Хочу пожелать всем участникам турнира интересной игры и побед, а также поблагодарить организаторов турнира. Всего доброго!
Well, great words, and now let's move to our tournament. Today we have two great teams. Today we have a lot of interesting players. And let's speak about time control. Time control is pretty easy, 5 minutes for each player per game and 3 seconds per move. Increasement, it is bonus increasement. So, still 2 minutes before the start of the tournament. As I already mentioned, there are a lot of very interesting players in Moscow Chess Club. I believe that Alisa Nurmuhamedova is one of the most famous players in this team, but in Team Jordan there are also some great players with very huge rating. 1 minute and 30 seconds before we start. What are the predictions for today's game? I expect a very close match because there are all players in both teams are very talented, so I expect a lot of very interesting games which we will have to analyze. 1 minute left before the start of the tournament, and then the tournament will begin. So let's watch the list of the players. As I already mentioned, Alisa Nurmuhamedova is the top seed of today's match. AVK is Artem Knyazev, Sasha Orlov, Alexander Orlov, Avera Nikolaev. They all are very interesting players, and I expect a lot of them today. 30 seconds before the start of the tournament. Let's wait, and there our tournament will begin. 20 seconds, 15, 10 seconds to go, and well, let's watch Jordanian players: Abderrahman Erhan, Sharabian Mikhail, Karbayev Nursultan, Kostin Sergey, Bekesev Adilkhan. They are also very interesting players. And now let's watch games this tournament. So our tournament has just begun, and let's watch some games. And this, there are games with the list. So let's watch this game. Where is the list of games? I don't see it right now. But okay, let's watch the game of, well, why didn't it move? There are no games right now. I don't understand why. Maybe let's move to Lisachka, to Alisa Nurmuhamedova. Well, here is the list. So let's begin. Kabderrahman Erhan against Alisa Nurmuhamedova. The game has just begun. White moves to c3. Alisa takes on c3. B takes c3. I believe that black position is okay right now in this position because of weak pawns on the c line. Bishop e3. I think Alisa will take on e3. Pawn on e3 also is very weak. I think maybe knight c5, knight f6. Alisa is moving her knight to d5 square or something like that. I believe knight on e1, maybe with an idea of moving the bishop on f3, but it doesn't seem to be okay for white. Their position, of course, is worse. I think Alisa will move knight to d5, and she did that. Knight moves to d3, and Alisa just take on e3, and then takes the rook on f1. So she gains some material in this game. Queen moves to g5, then I think rook will move to c8 square, but now she has to take on f3 or move the queen on e3. King will move to h1, I believe, or queen to f2. Now there are a lot of exchanges in this game, and rook moves to c8 square, attacking the pawn on c3. Of course, white position is totally lost, so knight moves to e5, Alisa takes on c3, rook c1, rook moves to c8. A lot of extra material for Alisa. I think her position is totally winning. Rook takes on c2, king will move to g3, and just maybe f6 or something like that. Yes, Alisa is making this move. Knight moves to d3, maybe a5 with an idea of b4. Rook d8 also is very strong because knight just can go anywhere right now. King moves to f4. Alisa takes the pawn on h2, on a2. She's just taken all the pawns, and Erhan just resigned. So now let's watch the game maybe of the youngest, one of the youngest and one of the most talented players in Moscow chess team, Avery Nikolai. He's playing against Karbaev Nursultan. I believe that Nikolai's position also is a little better, maybe, because pawns on e3 and e5 doesn't look very confident. Well, what he has to do? Nikolai has 3 minutes, more than 3 minutes. Time is equal right now. Maybe rook to b8 with an idea of moving his pawn on b4. Or maybe just knight c5. 5 also is a very nice move. Now Nikolai is still thinking. Maybe he can exchange queens by queen b6 or queen c5. The endgame also will be very nice for Nikolai. Or maybe he can move even queen c4, but I don't think it is the best possible move in this position. I think Nikolai will move just rook b8. Rook b8 or something like that, with an idea of queen b6. Queen b6 is played by Nikolai. He's trying to exchange queens. I think Nursultan will not do that, because queen b6, knight b6 and knight then goes to c4 square. I think it is not the best possible variation for Nursultan. Nursultan is still thinking maybe e4 is an idea, but Nursultan takes on b6, Knight takes on b6. Knight moves to d4, attacking the pawn on b5. So maybe knight c4 or b4 right now is the best possible variation for Nikolai. I think he will play b4 and then a takes b4, but Nikolai played knight c4. Very active play by a young and talented Russian player. I think Nursultan will take on b5 with which knight? Not so easy question to answer. Come on, Nursultan, let's take on b5. It is the only option right now. Or maybe he is trying to calculate variation with b3, but then Nikolai will take a pawn on e5 square. The pawns on e3 and e5 are too weak for Nursultan. So he has to take on b5. But he's still thinking maybe a4 or something like that is possible, but maybe a4. a4 is an option, but then pawn will move to b4 square, attacking the knight on c3. So 2 minutes left for Nursultan Karbaev. And I think he has to play faster because there is not so much time left on his clock. e3. Knight will take on e5. As far as I'm concerned, it is the only option. I don't see anything else for Nikolai Averyan. Yeah, Nikolai is taking the pawn on e5, and Nursultan will take on b5 with the knight on c3. I believe that. Maybe Nursultan blundered a pawn on e5, but now he has to take on b5 because there are no other good moves for him, and he's taking the pawn on b5 with the knight from c3. Well, right now, what Nikolai can do? Maybe rook b8 or rook c8. But if he takes on b5, knight will take on b5. Maybe it was not the best possible decision made by Nikolai. Rook moves to c8, attacking the pawn on c2. What can Nursultan do? Maybe he will move his knight back to d4, protecting the pawn on c2. Or just rook e2 with the same idea. Less and less time for Nursultan. He's moving his rook on e2. Rook c5 looks very good for Nikolai, attacking the knight on b5, but he's moving a4, also a nice try. Because a move of a pawn to b4 is not very good, because the square on c4 will be very weak. 1 minute left for Nursultan. He's thinking. I think he will move his knight to d4. I believe that it is one of the best options for him in this position. Less than a minute for him, and 2 minutes left for Nikolai. Very good game for the start of the tournament. 45 seconds left for Nursultan. He's still thinking. Maybe he's trying to calculate b takes a4 and he's moving b4, but now square on c4 is very, very weak. I think Nikolai will move his rook to c6 or maybe c4, but he's moving his knight to c4, also possible. 30 seconds left for Nursultan and he's moving e4. Nice try, but I think Nikolai will take on e4, rook takes e4 and knight d2, attacking the rook and attacking the pawn on c2. Yes, Nikolai is doing that. Rook d4 or rook e2. Rook e2 was better than rook d4, I believe, because now rook will take on c2, protecting the knight on d2. And with the threat of moving his knight to b3 square. I think Nikolai will take on d2. is the best option for him in this position, as far as I'm concerned. But he is making a move rook d8. He's trying to exchange active rook on d4. Also possible way to play for Nikolai. 30 seconds left for Nursultan Karbaev. I think rook will take on d8, rook will take on d8, and rook d1. Rook d1 is not possible because of knight f3, but rook d1 possible in this position. Well, I think that Nikolai should take on d4 and then move his knight on c4, square, attacking the weak pawn on a3. Yes, he's doing that. And he's moving his knight to c4. He's trying to attack pawn on a3. Nursultan is playing knight b5. f6 or g6 is a very good move for Nikolai. He needs this move, or maybe even king f8. The 8th rank of Nikolai's position is very weak, so he has to do something with that. h6 also possible, with the same idea. He's preparing h7 square for his king, rook d4. What Nikolai can do? 30 seconds left for him. Rook c8 is an option, or maybe just knight e3 or something like that. Yes, knight e3 seems very good, but then c4 will come. Knight goes to e5, and now c4 is coming for white, I believe. 10 seconds left for Nursultan. He has to move faster, or he will lose on time. c4. Maybe rook b8 is a possible variant with an idea of taking pawn on c4. Nikolai, come on, 6 seconds left for you. Knight moves to c6, attacking the rook, rook d3. Both players are in a huge time trouble. King is moving to e7, knight c3. White position is better, I believe. 4 seconds left for Nikolai. King f2, f6, king e3. Nursultan is playing really good in this position. Rook d1 is a blunder of the pawn on a3, I believe that. Yeah, b5, but b5 will come, or c6, also possible. Two pawns, b and c pawn for white, are very dangerous. Rook c7, b5, b5, f5, but maybe just no, king e5, knight goes to c4 square. And therefore g5, and Nikolai has some chances here in this position. Yeah, knight on b6 is very good, g4, but Nikolai just cannot do anything, but he takes with the king, and king f6, king h5, king g7, rook h7, rook f1. Also a nice try for Nursultan. Nikolai offered to draw, but Nursultan declined it. Rook f1. Rook f1 is one of the best options for Nursultan, but he's playing rook a1, attacking the pawn on a4, and Nikolai lost on time, but I believe that his position is worse. So it's a good game for Nursultan. And now let's move to what game we can watch. Maybe let's watch the game of Mikhail Konnikov against Dmitry Danilov. Last move was queen a4, knight takes on c3, b takes c3, pawn on c3 is pretty weak, but white has a threat of moving their knight to d4. Knight d4 is a nice try for Mikhail Konnikov, attacking the knight on c6, but bishop a3 played, so castling. Also nice way for Dmitry Danilov. Very interesting position. Bishop takes on a3, queen takes on a3. queen is moving to c7 square, rook d1, rook d8, pawn on c3 is very weak, so Mikhail has to do something with that. He's moving his knight to d4, knight takes d4, and I think the pawn will take it, and then pawn will move to e3, protecting the pawn on d4. Queen b6, but e4 is an option for Mikhail Koenkov. e3, he's moving e3, rook c8, rook c1, rook c1. Both players are playing very fast. Maybe it is not very good because they have a lot of time left. Position is not so complicated. Pretty easy. So every mistake can be the last one. Dmitry Danilov is thinking. I think he will make a move like h6, something like that. This is one of the best options for him. Or he's trying to calculate something. Maybe rook or I think he will play rook c1 or pawn to h6. Or maybe pawn to a6, something like that. Not so easy to find a good move for Dmitry Danilov. So it's a hard decision for him. h6 is played, so my prediction was absolutely right. Now Mikhail is thinking. I believe that the idea of moving his pawn to e4 square is one of the best possible in this position, or maybe just exchange rooks on c8, but he's trying to exchange queens on b3, and I think Dmitry will do it. Queen takes b3, a takes b3, and pawn on b7 is under attack, so b6 is one of the only options for Dmitry. I don't see anything else for him. But Dmitry is thinking. So what he's thinking about? Maybe bishop c2. Bishop c2, yes. Yeah, bishop c2, attacking rook on d1 and pawn on b3. And rook d2, I believe that will come. Or maybe even bishop b7. Bishop b7 also is possible variation for Mikhail. I think he will play bishop b7. Bishop takes d1 and bishop or rook will take on c8. But Mikhail is trying to calculate these variations. I think bishop b7 attacking the rook on c8 is the best possible option for Mikhail. He's still calculating and he is moving his bishop to b7. Now Dmitry has to do something, or he will lose this game because he is a pawn down, and I don't see very good opportunities for him. Bishop takes d1. I think who will take on c8? Bishop or rook? Bishop takes on c8. Bishop takes b3. Bishop moves to a6. Bishop d5. It's time for the king. I believe king f1, king e2, king d3 is a possible plan for Mikhail. King f1. Come on, Mikhail. Or maybe rook c7. Yes, also nice try attacking the pawn on a7. Rook a8 or rook b8. Yeah, rook b8 with a threat of rook b1. So I believe that king has to go to f1 square right now. Bishop d3. Bishop d3 is played. Also possible variation. But now a5 will come for black. Rook b7. Also possible variation. But rook c8 is a checkmate. So it was the worst decision in the game. Dmitry just blundered m8 on c8 square. So now let's move to some other games. Maybe, well, this game. Very interesting. Shelest Sergei against Demyan Shevtsov. French defense, e4, e6, knight, c3 is not so popular variation, and queen moves to f3. Of course, it is possible, but I don't believe it. It is very strange. Strange move made by Demyan Shevtsov. Bishop e7. What if pawn takes on d5? I don't understand that, but okay. D takes e4. Queen will take on e4. I believe that. Yeah, knight will move to f6, attacking the queen on e4. Queen will move to d3, or maybe to h4, but Sergei decided to move his queen to d3, knight c6, attacking the pawn on d4, and there is a very interesting idea, because knight f3, I believe that will come, or bishop e3, yeah, bishop e3 is the best possible option for Sergei. Maybe e5. Maybe e5 or just castling. Demyan will make one of these moves, or even bishop b4. Bishop b4, and what next? What if the knight goes to e4 square, or e2 square? Knight goes to d5 with an idea of exchange on e3, long castle. Castling. Bishop takes c3, knight takes c3, and what next, Demyan? Knight takes on c3, queen takes on c3, and I believe that white position is slightly better because of two strong bishops. Bishop g5, f6, French play, but maybe not so bad for Demyan. Demyan is moving his knight to d5, attacking the pawn or the queen on c3. Queen will move somewhere, I believe maybe on f3 or b3. I think g3. Interesting move, but g5. g5, attacking the bishop on h4, and Demyan is doing that. And what next, Sergei? Bishop takes g5, ace takes g5, and g5, yeah. And what next? h4, queen d3. What Sergei wants to do? I don't understand his idea. Demyan has to play bishop d7. Yeah, it's a good move. g3 and queen goes to f6, I believe. Is the best for Demyan, preparing the long castle. Yeah, queen moves to f6. Queen moves to f6, also attacking the pawn on f2, but it is not the main idea of this move. The main idea is preparing the long castle, protect his king. I believe that Sergei understands everything. That his position is lost, he is moving his bishop to e2, long castle. Come on, Demyan. This is the most logical move in this position. Just protect the king, yeah, long castle, and black just has extra piece, extra knight. Bishop f3, maybe just bishop c6. Bishop c6 also is a nice move for Demyan. He is doing that. c4 attacking the knight, but knight will go on b4 attacking the queen. This is the easy move, yeah. Attacking the queen, and now bishop on c6 is attacking bishop on f3 with the queen on f6. Sergey is losing this game right now, but queen b3, queen e2, queen e2, and now just bishop takes on f3, and everything is all over. Sergey has just resigned, I believe, and played next game, but he continues to play this position. Queen moves to g2. I think Demyan will take on h1. Queen takes on e4. d5. He takes d5. C takes d5, and just rook or bishop take on d5. Too much extra material for Demyan. He takes the pawn with the rook. Queen g4. King b8. Or maybe queen f5, something like that. King b8. It is a very easy position for black. Rook takes d5, bishop takes d5. Next move will be rook e8, I believe that. But not now, because the queen has just moved to e2. But okay, maybe rook f8 or queen c6, and right now, bishop f3 is one of the best possible moves was right now in that position, but Demyan missed that. But right now he's just winning the queen, and Sergey resigned. So now let's watch another game. Well, very interesting. Bishop endgame. I believe that AVK is Artem Knyazhev, also one of the best players in Moscow chess club. He's playing extremely fast, and he's winning this position against Sergey Kostin because he takes on h4, and the next move will be pawn to c2. Yeah, and Sergey has just resigned. One more win for AVK. Let's watch the game of Asachenko Ksenia against Sharabarin Mikhail. Interesting position. Last move was pawn to c5. I believe that Ksenia will take on c5 or just a3, something like that. I believe that she has a little advantage here. She is moving pawn to a3, b5. But what if he takes b5, a takes b5, and maybe just b can take on c5, and then bishop will take on b5. I think Mikhail made something wrong in this position. Yeah, Ksenia is doing that. B takes c5. D takes c5, and just bishop b5. Just bishop b5. Castling for Mikhail is the only option. Oh, he will lose immediately. He is doing that. Bishop c6 is possible. Attacking the rook on a8. But Ksenia decided to develop her knight. Also, nice try. Queen a5. Bishop. I think bishop will go to d2 square. Come on, Ksenia. This is one of the best creations for you right now. 3 minutes left for Ksenia. She is moving her rook to c1, also possible line. Knight goes to b6. Maybe, yeah. Ksenia just take the pawn on d5. Mikhail is moving his rook to d8, and bishop b4 attacking the pawn, attacking the queen. Mikhail is moving his queen to a7. 2 extra pawns for Ksenia, 2 bishops. Easy win for Ksenia. She's a very technical player. Yeah, she's winning more and more material. Bishop d6, attacking rook on b8. Rook takes c6, d takes, or maybe bishop b8. Bishop b8. Yeah, rook c3. Bishop will take on a7, rook will take on f3, g take. Okay, but Ksenia decided to take on c3, queen takes b8, and rook b1. Rook b1, attacking, then knight on b6. But rook b3 with the same idea. Next move will be rook b1. Mikhail is moving his queen to d6 square, rook b1, knight c4, queen d3, also possible. Queen d3, just attacking the knight. Yeah, Ksenia is doing that. Knight will go to a5. This is the only move for him. There are no more empty squares. Knight goes to a5, rook b5 or rook b8. Rook b8. I believe that rook b8, but rook b5. Knight c6, yeah, a very interesting idea, but rook b6. Rook b6 on board. I believe that Kenya will do that. She can take the knight on c6 because we have queen on d3 under attack. She decided to do the most logical move, rook b6, queen takes d5, and pawn will take it. Yeah, and Ksenia is winning this game. Yeah, Mikhail decided to resign. Very good. Very good. Now let's watch other games of the players which we didn't see yet. For example, Daria Karaseva against Anton Nasirov. d4 on the board, yeah. Which was one of the best moments to come into the game. So Anton is winning a knight on c3 for 2 pawns. He takes d4, rook will take on d4. Only bishop c5 is not a very good move because rook will take on d8, rook will take on d8, and queen will take on c5. But of course, Anton can calculate that, so he moved to d4, queen takes d4, and rook d8. Rook d8. Attacking the queen on d4. Maybe Daria will move to a4, but she decided to move to e3. 3 also possible. Also possible, but h6. h6. One of the most logical and one of the easiest moves in this position. But just 2 minutes left for Anton Nasirov. Not very much time. Maybe he has to play faster. Queen a5 also possible. He needs to find a plan, I believe. Position. And queen a5 is a move with an idea of moving his queen to c5 square, trying to exchange queens. But Anton is still thinking about that. Of course, he sees that, but he is trying to calculate something. I don't understand what he is trying to calculate. Just 1 minute left for him. So he's going into time trouble. Not very good for him. Just 1 minute for Anton and more than 3 minutes for Daria. But Anton's position is better, much better. Has extra material. 45 seconds left. h6. Bishop f4. Bishop f4. But Daria decided to exchange her bishop on the knight on f6. Anton made the most logical move. Bishop takes f6. I think the next move will be bishop to d4. Now Daria is thinking. Rook e1, bishop d4. Bishop d4 is one of the best options in this position. attacking the queen. But Anton has to play faster, as he's moving his bishop to d4. Daria has to go somewhere. I believe that on e2 or on f3 she's moving her queen to f3. Maybe just queen e5. Queen e5. Or queen b6, yeah. I believe that it is with the same idea. Attacking the pawn on b2. And what Daria can do right now? b3. b3. Maybe just queen c5. Queen a5 is played by Anton. It is the best option because knight can go anywhere, because rook on e1 will be under attack. So, but rook d1, yes, is the option for Daria. But rook d7, okay, rook d7 will be played. Anton needs to put his rook under defense. 10 seconds left for Anton. Bishop takes c3, rook takes d8, queen takes d8, and queen takes c3, queen d1, king h2, queen d6. Very good check. Daria has to do something. I think she will move king g1. King g1, g3. Okay, also possible variation. But I think king g1 was better. Queen c7. Not so easy position to win for Anton because he has less time than her and his opponent. Of course, he has extra material, but it is not so easy to convert it into a point. Daria is defending very good, but e5 was not very good move because now bishop moves to d5. White squares on the king side are too weak. Queen moves to c7. What Daria will do next? Maybe h4, or maybe even f4. Queen d3, king g8, or g6. g6. Okay, Anton g6. 14 seconds left for him. Queen takes a6, but queen takes e5. Queen d3. Queen e1, yeah. Queen has to go to f1, exchanging the queens, but Anton still thinking about that, and he decided to do that. Queen takes f1, king takes f1, bishop e4, and bishop moves to c2, attacking both pawns on b2 and a4. Now his position is totally winning. Now let's move bishop to b5 or king to g7. King d2, king d6, king d6. Pretty easy for Anton. Yeah, king c5, but king d7. The only problem for Anton is that he has just 10 seconds left. King e4, b5, c takes b5, c takes b5, and I think bishop will take on b5. Bishop b3, pawn moves to b6, bishop d5, king d6, and how Anton will convert it. Bishop b7, okay, is okay for him, but very interesting play from Daria. She's moving her king into active position, king g6, attacking pawn on h6, and now she can take it. She can just take it. Maybe it is a draw. Maybe it is a draw. How to protect this pawn? f3, but king takes on g5. But okay, the king moves to d3, h4. h4 is the only option for Daria. She is doing that. King e2, h5, king f2, h6, king goes somewhere. Maybe it is not the winning position for Anton. How to do that? King g3, h7, f2, h8, f1, queens are on the board, and queen e5. Queen e5 or queen c3. Yeah, it is a draw. It is just a draw. Very good defense from Daria Karaseva. Very good defense. Well, maybe she will even win this game because she's winning the bishop on b7. Wow, incredible. Incredible play by Daria. And now I think she will win this game because it is very hard to defend queen endgame. The pawn on b6 is very strong. Now king is moving to the queen side. Anton has just 10 seconds. But totally winning position, I believe that. But he had less time, and that's why he is losing this game. What a pity for a young and very talented Moscow player. But not so easy for Daria even to win this position. Queen goes to b4, but queen b8, but queen moves to a4, queen a7. There are a lot of checks, but b7 right now in this position. But yeah, queen e8. I can't believe it. I can't believe it. It is a draw. It can be a draw because Daria doesn't have an opportunity to move her king out of the corner. It would be a perpetual check. Wow, incredible game. Incredible game. It is a draw. 3 queens on board. I believe that it is the best game of today's tournament. Perpetual check on board, yeah. They just need some time to accept it. Yeah, it is a draw. Very good play. We have to remember this game. Daria Karaseva against Anton Nasirov. Very interesting play. Well, let's watch this game. Maybe, yeah, let's choose the game. Okay, let's watch this game. Karbaev Nursultan against Artem Ilyin. Well, very interesting position. I think it is a theoretical one. 45 minutes left in our tournament, so we got a half of the tournament. And the most interesting part of our tournament has just begun. Artem is thinking. He's thinking about he has to move his knight somewhere, maybe to g4 or something like that. Or e4, also possible. C will take on d4 square, or maybe just castling. But Nursultan decided to take the pawn on d4, attacking the bishop on b4, c5. Bishop moves to d4 square. I think knight d2 was better than bishop d2, but bishop d2 also a possible line on Nursultan. 4 minutes left for Artem Ilyin. I believe that it is a theoretical position right now, but Artem doesn't know about that. a3, attacking the bishop on e4, bishop takes d4, d2, queen takes d2. White has an advantage here in this position. And what to do next? But d6, yeah. d6 is a good move. I think here Nursultan will take, and maybe rook e8. Rook e8 is possible in this position. What to do? On Nursultan, rook e8 is on the board. Yes, very good play from Artem. Now Nursultan has some problems, but he moves his bishop to e2 square. Queen takes d6, castling. Bishop will go to g4 or to f5. I don't think that there is something else in this position. The plan for black is very easy. Attack the pawn on d4, but Artyom decided to move his queen to g6. And what on bishop d3? Bishop d3. Come on, Nur Sultan. There's a good variation for you. Bishop d3. But Nur Sultan is still thinking about that. Maybe just rook e1 is possible. I understand the idea of Artyom. He wants to put his bishop on h3 square, attacking the pawn on g2. But I don't believe that it is a real threat for white. So I think Nur Sultan will play rook e1 or bishop d3. But he decides to put his pawn to b4. Maybe it is not the best possible decision. What will Artyom do in this position? I believe that he will put his bishop on not on f5 right now, but on g4. If he puts his bishop on h3, then knight h4 will come. Not so easy to calculate these variations, but Artyom is trying to do that. Very good for him. But I believe that he will play bishop g4 or maybe even a6. a6, preventing the idea of b5. Very interesting position, but I think it is not the most interesting one. But Artyom decides to put his bishop on h3. Now the only move is knight h4, attacking the queen on g6. Artyom is playing queen e4. Very good. Double attack. He is attacking bishop on e2 and knight on h4. And Nur Sultan has to do something with that, but it is not so easy to understand what exactly he can do. G takes h3, and I think that Artyom will take the bishop. But maybe, yes, he's taking the bishop on e2. Nur Sultan has to take on e2, rook will take on e2. Well, knight f3 and rook d8 or e8, something like that. Is very good for Artyom. Right now in this position, black has a little advantage, but not so little, not so little. Pawn on d4 is very weak, pawn on h3 also is very weak. So there are real problems for Nur Sultan with his pawn structure. h6. h6 is not the most principal move. I think that rook will move to e1 or maybe to c1. Rook c1, but it was an idea. But Nur Sultan decides to put his rook on e1, exchanging the rooks, and rook moves to d8. That was the last move Artyom made. Rook d1, protecting the pawn on d4. Maybe just king f8. King f8. Very simple for Artyom, but he decided to move his knight somewhere on f5 or on d5. Also a very good plan. He's trying to block the pawn on d4. Knight e5, but knight f5 in this position. Knight f5. f6 also a good line for Artyom. Nur Sultan has 3 minutes. Artyom has less than 2 minutes. Knight goes to f5, yeah, attacking the pawn, but d5, yeah. And what will Artyom do? Knight d6, trying to exchange knights. Maybe it is one of the best possible variations in this position right now. Or maybe just king f7. King f7 also very good for him. But he has to calculate something like knight a5, attacking the pawn on b7. I think it is the idea of Nur Sultan. So, Artyom is still thinking. He has just 1 minute. Not very much time for him. We saw in last game that time trouble is very, very strange thing for Russian players. It is a very classic thing for Russian players. King moves to f7. And what next? What next? King f1. I believe that good line for Nur Sultan. But he has a lot of time. He can think in this position. King g2. Also very good. I think that Artyom has to do something like b6 or c6. d6, and what? King e6, yeah? Attacking the pawn on d6. But, rook d7. Rook d7. Knight prophylaxis. He's trying to block the pawn on d6. I believe that it is not the best possible variation, but it is a good one. So, Nur Sultan to do something, or he will just lose the pawn. After king e6, king moves to f3, and I believe that Artyom will play king e6. But just 30 seconds left for him. Why Russian players, Moscow players, are not so fast? They are very slow today. King moves to e6, attacking the pawn on d6. 2 minutes left for Nur Sultan, but I think his position is lost. Because he is losing his the most important pawn on g6. And after that, Artyom will easily win this game. Maybe not so easy. Maybe it is not so easy. Rook e1 is a possible variation. Rook e1, but then king will go to d5. Nur Sultan decided to put his rook on g1 square, and g5 is played by Artyom. Very logical play from him. And what next? What next, Nur Sultan? Let's show us your plan. What was your plan? Rook e1. I believe that it is the only opportunity to make some problems for Artyom. Yes, he's doing that. King d5. Come on, Artyom, don't be scared. Let's move our king forward. Yes, he's doing that. Very good. Very good. Artyom is moving his king on d5, attacking the knight on c4. What next? What next for Nur Sultan? I don't see any options for him. Maybe just he can exchange knights with knight e3, but I don't think it is very good for him. King g4, possible. Well, was it good for Artyom? Very interesting rook endgame. Rook e7, attacking pawns. b5, rook will take on a7, yeah, or something like that. Or maybe just rook e4. Rook takes on a7, king takes on b4. And what to do? For Nur Sultan, I think his position is lost, because there are two passing pawns for Artyom, and he is doing that. Rook c7, but rook d4, just rook d4. Rook d5 also is a possible line. Yeah, Artyom is winning this game. The idea is rook c5, and I don't see how Nur-Sultan can prevent it. So I think Artyom will easily win this game. Less than a minute for Nur-Sultan. He is moving his king to f3, rook c5. Rook takes c5. No, it is not possible. The pawn endgame is totally lost for Nur-Sultan. Just before king d1, b3. Well, king d3, king d3, king d5. But now Artyom will play this endgame. King e6, king e6, h4. h4 is the only hope for Nur-Sultan. h4 is the only hope. He has to play like that. Doesn't have anything else. King e3, king f5. King f5 or even c2, king g2, b3, and king f5. Right now, in this position. Easy win for Artyom in this pawn endgame. But the game was very interesting, also very interesting. There were good plans in it and good chess tactics. So it was an interesting game, but Nur-Sultan lost in this position. Pawn moves to f5, h5, king f6. Nur-Sultan has to resign, of course, because now Artyom will move his king on g7, then on h6, and win both pawns on the king side. King c1, king g7. Oh, well, Nur-Sultan. But this position also is winning for black. King e2, king g3, king f1, and king f3. King f3. Yeah. King will go to somewhere g1 and king e2. King e2. Artyom is still winning this game. So nothing happened. Nothing happened. But the attempt of Nur-Sultan to take pawn on b3 was very good. Of course, there was a move for c1 with the queen, but Artyom didn't spoil anything. Now we'll see a technique of Artyom, how he is making with extra queen. I don't think it is very interesting. Well, come on, let's just wait until Nur-Sultan will resign. Or maybe he decides to lose on time. Yeah, he decides to lose on time. No. King d6. Just, yeah, he's losing on time. So now let's watch next game. Well, game we'll see. In a lot of games today, which is the most interesting one. Let's watch the game. Okay, let's watch the game of Karaseva Daria and Famchikyon. Karaseva Daria showed us a very good game against Anton Nasirov. So let's watch her game again. I believe that Famchi has a better position right now. Rook moves to e8, attacking the queen on e1. Queen goes to d1 square. He needs a plan. Famchi just needs a plan. Maybe bishop e4 is possible. Maybe bishop e4 is possible. But maybe it is not the strongest plan for him. He found a better one. Now I believe that, yeah, knight moves to e6, but where he would like to go next? In knight h4, maybe knight g5 or something like that. But Famchi decides to move his bishop on f7. Just 30 minutes left in our tournament. 30 minutes. The most important part of our today's competition. last 30 minutes. Maybe queen d3 for Daria. She decided to move her queen to d2, also possible. What next? Knight g5 with an idea of knight e4, but rook e1. Rook e1, come on Daria. Yeah, she's doing that. Queen d7, changing rooks, yeah, rook takes e8, queen takes e8, and knight f5. Knight f5, not so easy position. I believe that black has a little advantage here, but it is not so easy to convert it in something else. h4. Knight e4 is the only move. And what next? Daria takes on e4, queen takes on e4. King h3, but maybe queen h1 was an idea. But Famchi decides to put his bishop on e6, attacking the knight on f5, knight e7, and king f7. The knight doesn't have any empty square. Daria decides to put her knight on f5. Famchi, why you didn't take on f5? I don't understand. Well, queen h6, queen h6, g6 is a not very good move. Queen h6, queen h6 will come, and Famchi will have some problems. But maybe on queen h6, just king e8, and there is nothing more for Daria. Very interesting. Knight goes to d6. Queen takes g4, king h2, queen h3, queen h3, king g1, queen takes g3, and take knight on d6. Easy win for Famchi. Has a lot of extra material. Daria. And just take the knight on d6. Yeah, Famchi is taking it. And he has extra bishop and 2 pawns. But Daria decided even to exchange queens and g5, and Famchi will easily win this game. I believe that. So maybe let's just watch another game. Let's just watch some few moves in this position. Okay, let's watch this game till the end. King h2, king g6, king g1, g3, and just h3, h2, h1. h2, h2, and h1. Checkmate will come in few moves. Queen f2, yeah, and queen c2, checkmate. A very good game by Famchi. Very good game by Famchi. Who else? Who else? Well, it's a very interesting position. Well, let's see. Let's watch this game. Vasantseva Dominika against Nursultan Karbayev. Vasantseva Dominika, also a very young and a very talented girl. So let's follow her game this tournament. So the last move was c takes d5, and I believe that her position is better. Maybe even it is winning for her. But she has to prove that. Not so easy to find a good move for Nursultan. Maybe just castling, but where? King d7. It is a strange move. D takes e6, bishop takes e6, and rook d1. Or just bishop c4. Rook d1, and next move will be bishop c4. Okay, bishop c4. Come on, Dominika. Try to exchange these bishops, because bishop on e6 is very good for black. Is a good defender, but Dominika decided to put pawn on c4. Rook d8. Maybe in this position there are some chances for Nursultan, but I believe that Dominika will win this game. She has one extra pawn, e4, h4, I believe Nursultan will play, with some counterplay. Okay, h4, come on Nursultan, queen a6, I don't understand the idea, maybe queen moves to b7 square, or something like that. But now queen can go to e3, attacking the pawn on g5. So, what can we do? What can Dominika do? I believe that she will do it. Queen e3 is one of the best possible lines in this position. But she decided to put her queen on f3. Maybe it is even better. You know, maybe it is even better. But now rook takes d1 and queen will go on f6. Yeah, queen on f3 is very strong. The threat of queen f6 is very dangerous, and Nursultan plays very logical. He decides to put his rook on h6, protecting the f6 square. So what next for Dominika? Queen e3. She is attacking pawn on g5, as I already mentioned. Rook g6 or rook g8. Nursultan has to defend this pawn. 2 minutes left for him. More than 2 minutes for Dominika. Rook g8. Rook g8, I believe, will come, or rook g6, but rook g8, yeah. Rook g8 is a logical move, but maybe queen d3? Queen d3 right now? Queen d3 or queen d2, also possible. Queen d2 with an idea of queen d6 and queen d8 mate. What can Nursultan do in this position? Not so easy to calculate. King f8, maybe. Or maybe just queen c8. Queen c8, I believe, would be played, or king f8. But on king f8 there would be queen d8, king g7, and queen takes g5. So maybe queen c8 is the only move in this position. Come on, Nursultan, let's play queen c8. Yeah, he's doing that. Very good defense from him. Queen d6, king e8. And what next? What is the next plan for Dominika? How to win this position? Of course, it is winning, but how exactly? Maybe just rook d2 and rook d1, but she decides to play rook f6, trying to exchange these rooks. But I think rook f7 or rook h8 will be played. But just don't take on f6. Nursultan, don't take on f6, because there would be a threat of checkmate on e7. Let's just move rook h7 or rook h8, something like that. Rook g6, also possible, but not the best possible one, because rook will take on g6. And what next? Dominika, okay, let's take, the rook takes g6 and bishop takes on h5, yeah. One more extra pawn for Nursultan, for Dominika. Nursultan is 2 pawns down. Rook h6 attacking the bishop. Bishop will go back. Come on, Dominika, let's just play bishop e2 or bishop f3. This is the most logical move. I believe that she will play bishop e2, bishop f3, also possible, g4 by Nursultan or something like that. Not so easy to play this position for Nursultan. He is 2 pawns down and his pieces are not very active. 30 seconds left for him. 20 minutes left in our tournament. Queen d7, but queen b8. Queen b8. Come on, Dominika. Queen b8, queen c8, and queen takes on a7. Yeah, so it was a blunder. Queen c8 and queen takes a7. Yeah, pretty easy. For Dominica, she's winning more and more pawns. I think Nur Sultan has to resign in this position, but maybe bishop c4, maybe it is, yeah, it's too early to resign in this position. Bishop takes c4, rook d6, rook d6, on Dominica, do something like that. 1 minute left for her. Queen a4, b5, not very good technique by Dominica. She gives Nur Sultan some counter chances. So right now, Nur Sultan's position is better than it was 5 or 7 moves ago. Queen d2. d2, king f8, but queen takes g5. Queen takes g5, and Nur Sultan loses once again. King g7, and right now queen takes on g5. Rook g6, queen f5. Queen f5. Come on, Dominica, let's exchange queens. I believe it is one of the best possible creations. This position, queen f5. And what can Nur Sultan do? Queen a6. Logical. He is trying to attack pawn on a3. Not so easy. Not so easy to play this position for Dominica, but I think h4 or yes, bishop h5. Very good. But I believe that pawn to h4 was stronger. And then pawn to h5. Queen takes a3, bishop takes g6, f takes g6, queen f6. No, it would be a checkmate somewhere. Oh, maybe not checkmate. Not so easy. Oh, well, queen h4, king g7, rook d7. Yeah. Bishop f7, queen f6. Queen f6. Queen f6. King will go to h6. And just let's take with this bishop with rook. Queen f4, g5, queen f6. Queen f6. Dominica has half a minute. Rook d6. Bishop g6. Not very good technique by Dominica, but her position is still winning, of course. h5. Well, and queen h3 mate, checkmate. Queen h3, yeah. Dominica has won this game. Very interesting game. Now let's watch someone else. Well, let's watch game of Daria Uzintseva and Dmitry Danilov. Well, very interesting position. Weak pawns on. There are a lot of weak pawns on this position. Maybe on a4 for white and on b6 for black. So is to understand what is going on. Bishop a6. Maybe just rook b2. Rook b2. Dmitry, or queen b2. Queen b2 also possible, but what will Daria do? Queen b2. Just let's attack the pawn on b6. I think that after queen b2, white will have advantage. Or there would be c takes d4, c takes d4, and bishop c4. d5, d5, e5. You have to calculate e5. But it is a nice idea, a nice try for Dmitry. Also very interesting move. Daria has some problems right now in this position. She has to calculate a lot. But I think e5 is a good move. For example, bishop takes f5, e takes f4, bishop takes c8, bishop takes c8. And then everything would be okay. Daria is making this move, e5, bishop h2, g6, g6, Daria. Let's do that. Or maybe knight d7. Knight d7, also very good. Protecting pawn on f5 and protecting pawn on b6. I think that knight d7 was better. But g6 also very good for her. Queen b2 is an option for Dmitry, but I think right now his position is worse because two bishops are not very strong. e4, but f4. f4, Dmitry. Daria, let's do it immediately. Pawn to f4. Block all bishops. Let's do it. Daria, don't think a lot. f4 is the only move, yeah. Don't spend a lot of time on it. It's the most logical move, so you have to do that. And don't spend a lot of time on it. Because you'll need time later in this game. Well, what next? What next for Dmitry Danilov? Maybe g3 or even g4, something like that, because the idea for Daria is g5, h5, and g4. Not so easy to prevent it. Dmitry is thinking rook b2, but g5. g5. Let's do it, Daria. g5, h5, and g4 with an attack. Rook b8. Daria is trying to protect rook, pawn on b6 with the rook b1. Daria, everything is okay. Let's just move g5 and h5 and g4. Everything is okay for you in this position, but Daria is scared about something. So she is moving her knight to d7. Also a very logical way. No? I believe that she will found this plan g5 with an attack. So Dmitry has to do something right now, but what can he do? Not so easy to find a good plan for him. Queen f2 and g5. Come on, Daria, let's attack. You know, maybe there is a plan, something like king f7, queen f6, and then move king on the queen side, maybe to c7 square, also protecting pawn on b6, and then attack on the king side. g5 is played by Daria, very good play from her. Very good play from our young, talented girl. So there are problems for Dmitry. He has to do something, but it is not so easy to understand what exactly he can do in this position. 11 minutes left in this tournament. Time less and less. 1.5 minutes for Dmitry. 2 minutes left for Daria. Still a lot of time in this game. Bishop e2. I believe that there is no plan. He's just trying to protect g4 square. Queen f6. Very good for Daria. And I believe that she will found the plan. King f7, king e7, d8, and c7. It's a nice plan. A very beautiful one. Bishop d3, so Dmitry doesn't do anything. He's just trying to stay in this position while Daria is trying to make her pieces more and more active. King f7, queen g6, also possible. Also possible. But I believe that she has to put her king on the queen side. Rook d2, there is no active play for Dmitry Danilov. Come on, Daria, let's found this plan. Of course, there are other good squares for king h7, yeah, or something like that. She's preparing h5 and g4. Rook g8, I believe. Rook g8. Yeah, she's doing that. And next move would be h5 and g4. Bishop e2. But okay, h5, h5. You know, I believe that Daria has to move her king on the queen side and protect pawn on b6. Well, Dmitry is doing the same. He's trying to run away from the king side with his king. And he is moving king f1 with an idea e1, d1, maybe c2 or something like that. Good play for Dmitry. He found a very interesting plan. Well, Mondaria, 40 seconds. Moscow players are very slow today. And I don't know the reason. Knight f6, an idea of g4 is in the air. So 45 seconds left for Dmitry Danilov. The most interesting part of this game is coming right now. So king e1. King e1. Come on, Dmitry, continue your plan. g4 and something like that. But rook d1 and right now g4. But g4, h takes g4, h takes g4, and maybe queen h4, something like that. g4, h takes g4, h takes g4. Come on, Daria, it is the only move. Queen h4. Queen h4 is the only opportunity for Dmitry, but he decides to take pawn on g4, and it is a weak move, I believe that. But right now, queen h4, knight goes to h6, and what next? What is the next move for Dmitry? 25 seconds left for him, 17 seconds left for Daria. 20 seconds left for Dmitry. Come on, let's play faster. Bishop d3. Maybe just exchange queens. Queen g5. Why not? Or move our bishop to d8. But she decides to make a move rook b1, rook b7, and rook b1. What right now? Rook b8. Both players are in huge time trouble. King g1, king g4. Daria is trying to exchange queens. Dmitry is doing that. Knight takes on g4. Knight goes to e3 and well, come on. f3, Daria. Oh well, the game has just got out of control. I don't understand what is going on. I believe that the game will end in a draw, you know. I believe that. King e7, and Daria is moving her king on the queen side to c7 square, rook g8, but what next, Daria? Rook f8 and rook b8, king f5, king d7. Daria is trying to win this position. King c7, and now rooks are free. One rook is free from the defending pawn on b6, king f7. Well, very interesting. And I believe that rook moves to h3. Rook moves to h3. Maybe even some ideas of checkmate. Daria, come on. There were an idea, rook f8. Rook f8 was an idea. Daria, bishop d7, attacking pawn on a4, king g5. Huge troubles for Dmitry. He is losing pawn on a4, rook f1, 10 seconds left for Daria, bishop d7, rook f7, rook f8 or something like that. Rook f8, rook g8 also possible, but Daria has to exchange one pair of rooks. I believe that. Has to do that. Right now. Bishop e8 was not possible, of course, and she's exchanging rooks. Rook f7, king f7, and rook h3. Rook h3 attacking the bishop on d3. Rook d2, a4. a4. Well, so looks like Daria is winning this game. Rook c1. Yeah, rook c1 is possible. Very good technique, very interesting game, very hard one to play because both players are in huge time trouble. Dmitry Danilov is trying to defend, but he's losing more and more pawns. He's 2 pawns down. a4. Come on, Daria. Rook g3, b2, a4. Good time. Make this move. a4. Yeah, Daria. Okay, 10 seconds. 10 seconds left for Daria. a3. Yes, everything is okay. And rook c3. Rook c3. Yeah, bishop a2. Bishop a2. And bishop a4. Bishop a4 with an idea of bishop b3, but Dmitry is still defending his pawns. Very nice defense, and Daria can't beat it, but she's trying to do that. Rook b1 and rook b2. Rook b2 right now, yeah, rook b2, and everything is all over. Well, it was a very hard game, but Daria is winning it. So Dmitry has to resign in this position because a2 is a very serious threat. Rook d3, a2, just a2, but Daria decides to do. Well, Daria blundered bishop on d7. Oh, the game is not over. Well, very good play from Dmitry. He is defending pawn on e4 and winning 2 pawns. Daria, now Dmitry's position is winning. I don't believe it. What a game, e5, rook h6, king g7, and 2 pawns bring a win for Dmitry. e7 and everything is all over. Rook g4, king f6, rook f4, king g5, and Daria has to resign. What a pity for Daria. She was playing extremely good. In this game, but she was in huge time trouble. And that's why she made several mistakes, and everything is all over. King d6, queen d7, checkmate. And let's watch the last game. Well, let's watch this game. I think everything is going to the end right here. Sasha Orlov, Alexander Orlov against Adel Nabulsi. Very strange position. King is going in the center. I believe that Alexander will checkmate his opponent right here in this position. King e8, queen e8. Yeah, and it is a checkmate. And not the last one. Let's watch maybe this game also. It is also ended. So I believe that our tournament has come to an end right now. Yeah. The time is all over. So Moscow Chess Club is winning this friendly match against Team Jordan. Well, we gained a lot of very interesting games, and now let's name the 3 best players. The first and the top scorer in Moscow chess team is Anton Nasirov with 34 points. And there are a lot of players in Moscow teams who split the second place. Sasha Orlov, Ivashensova Dominika, Vdovin Georgy, Ligi 1373, King, Averin 22 Nikolai, Demian Shevtsov and Yeva Voronaya scored 32 points and they split the second place, but the program decided that Alexander Orlov and Ivashchenko Dominika are on the second and the third place today. So Anton Nasirov, Alexander Orlov and Ivashchenko Dominika are the three best players in the today's friendly match. But all the players were very good. So let's name the best game in this tournament. Let me think. I believe that the most interesting game and the most beautiful one was a game between Daria Karaseva and Anton Nasirov. But the game of Daria Uzintseva, I don't remember against whom she was playing, but it is also a very interesting game. But I believe that the best game for today was Daria Karaseva against Anton Nasirov. So, as far as I'm concerned, our broadcast has come to an end, and we hope to see you very soon on our next broadcast. Stay healthy and goodbye.